So Biff, the past, the present, and the future walk into a bar. It was tense. It was tense. Okay.
Why do we do this? Why do we do this every week?
Because the people want it. 3 conspiracy theorists walked into a bar. You can't tell me that's a coincidence. Hello, everybody. This is Jacques.
This is Biff.
And
hello, everybody. This is Joe. Hi. I'm here. I'm queer. Get used to it.
I can attest, and Biff is zooming in. This is not a hostage situation. Joe is here on his own free will. Whether I'm going to let him leave, well, we'll cross that bridge when he attempts it, I guess.
Is the distributor cap in my car still working, or is it... No, the real reason I'm here, guys, is because for the past couple of weeks, you guys have been killing it. And by it, I mean my ears. The technical difficulties on this podcast have been too much for me to bear. I was wondering why Jacques was coming out of my left ear and Biff was going into my right ear. This sounds like a fantasy I've had.
No, I'm just letting you dig this hole. Keep going.
And I've realized that Jacques had dialed the balance on your microphones.
How do you
all
know
up.
It's me? Why are you always saying to me? This is a very boring piece you're doing. This is the 3rd time you've done this year. I don't know why nobody wants to see this.
Are you doing the Martin Short smoking a lawyer?
It's a very boring piece you did. This is the 3rd time you've done this year. How do I know you didn't touch those buttons?
I did touch the buttons. I fixed it, and now everybody at home, all 5 of you, can now hear all of us in stereo.
Hey, so big up to Joe's OCD. Now the content.
Hold on, I got to tap the table 3 times. Go.
The content mesmerizing, and you were just upset that the level of quality of the audio didn't raise to the level of content.
Well, I do like listening to a podcast and then also listening to like air traffic control somehow getting interference into the podcast, or like the buzzing
but I don't
hornets.
know if you listen to like 70s rock. We were trying to go for that, different, band members on different year thing. That was like
it was like the end of like it was like right. It was like the end of what's the Beatles song where they have like just the radio playing in the background, right. Towards the end of the song. It was like that. It was real high concept.
Right.
This was your Sgt. Pepper's, is what you're saying.
Well, dumb it down. If that's what you're asking, we'll come down. First of all, want to give a huge shout out to our friend Al the Toy Man, who we did the sideshow with last week. Yep. Biff, I don't know if you were inundated, but I got a number of phone calls. Like people actually picked up their phone, well, they had their phone anyways, and just pressed my number, and text messages from people I don't correspond with a lot who listen to the podcast and like, that was a lot of fun. I could have listened to Al for 3 hours.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And, he's, as he said himself, he's kind of a dying, he's a last of the breed kind of a thing, right? But it is that fascinating thing that, like, hey, somebody has to do this, and he's the guy, and he's really good at it, so, yeah. And once again, obviously, thanks to Al for all of his wonderful stories.
And not one Toy Story reference from you guys?
Not one.
The guy's name was Al. In Toy Story 2.
Oh, my God.
He was the toy guy, right?
Can we call
Al's Toy
Al
Barn
and re-record this? Because right now, I was this days old when I made that connection. And by made that connection, I mean
the guy who had to have the original owner of the mixer come over and fix this thinks he can re-edit a past podcast to reinsert things. Is that what I'm hearing?
And by the way, I'm only here to fix the mixer. I am not editing this fucking thing. This is all you, baby. So, if you don't want to hear me say the C word, then that's because Jacques didn't edit it out.
Christians.
Right, yes.
Last week's podcast with Al was awesome. And again, I think one of the things that made Al such a great guest is the earnestness in which he walks through this world. He really didn't think he was that much of a compelling guest. I kept asking him, and he really didn't see, no one wants to hear these stories. No one wants to hear this. And he could not have been more. It's the only thing I think in life he's been wrong on, because like people have said, have him back on next week. We just recorded next week's podcast. with our friend. I'm saying our friend because the three of us just spent an hour talking to this friend Paul, who is a professional pumpkin carver. And have we laughed that much in a half-hour window before?
Yeah, that was a fun talk. That was a fun talk. So, and fascinating world. I mean, it is, it's like a lot of these things where you see the end products, right? But you don't, I don't think about there being an actual world, if you will, around it. I always think that, they got some dude to essentially carve a pumpkin for this ESPN thing. They probably, but there's an entire world behind it. So yeah, fascinating stuff.
It's one of those things where Paul is in one of those Guffman type weird subcultures, but he realizes he's in that weird subculture in real time, which makes it, he's part of it, but he's also a passenger in it. So he really has a great perspective on, this is kind of a little different walk of life, but it's a pretty awesome walk of life. So it was, and he is that Sam Adams, my cousin from Boston guy. Am I wrong?
He's a real cut up.
Cut up.
I'm glad he could carve out some time to be with you fellows. This is why I left the podcast. This is why I left.
No, I was trying to think, what was the comeback? I'm like, am I going to squash you? But because we talked about, like in my whole head, I'm thinking, what's the comeback? I'm like, I got nothing. Right? This is why I shouldn't be on the podcast and leave you two grown-ups to it. Just before, we started recording, Joe, I guess on the Twitter universe that DMX has passed away. And I'm not like the hugest fan of the guy. I don't know his whole catalog, but I do know he's had a few songs that are, those are stadium anthem themes that like will be around for another 20, 30 years. So, but
I kind of know him more as, because, I listen to that, the loud kids music, but I do see, I've seen him in, movies. Was he in Romeo Must Die? I want to say maybe he was in that movie.
He didn't do a lot.
He's been in a few action movies. Yeah. So I've seen him in. But yeah, I mean, lost another one. It's really just so sad. It's just just with. I don't know if it's because we've been like in this COVID thing where like so much of the news is death, but just these celebrities deaths are just seems sadder and sadder, as
and it's not like this wasn't like one of those COVID deaths kind of things. It was it was definitely he struggled with drug addiction, and he died of a heart attack due to a drug overdose. So
he was open about it, for years. He sang about it. He talked about it.
They even tweeted out a video, or somebody retweeted a video from earlier this year in February, I think, where he says, if I die tomorrow, I think I've lived a great life, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he saw the writing on the wall. I don't know. It's just y'all go maybe lose my mind up in here, up in here. Sorry, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm really, really sorry.
You're really jumping ahead on the Self-Indulgent Theater. You we don't look at the rundown. We don't get to that.
Does Paul Lynde rap a DMX song sometime?
He does now.
Oh, and I don't know the words
now. Oh, if you only had a device and then when
I will rap, and then I'll leave it up to you to mix in the audio in the background.
I'll try to figure that out. That
don't bite off more than you can chew,
training world fuckers. I'll plug our Twitter later, but dude, I've had a big week on Twitter personally. I had something that's had 400 likes and something that had 300 likes. The 300 like thing was something I respond to POTUS. And I got favorable responses. I won't go into the detail, but it was like, just really quickly, it was like infrastructure thing. He wants broadband in there, and that broadband aspect of this package mostly benefits people in red states. And that's just the truth. You know what I mean? It's like people in Massachusetts, people in California, we're fine, but it's all the people. And it's like the people who it benefits the most are pushing back on it the hardest. And my thing is like, why the fuck are we working so hard to help these people have a better life who are telling us to fuck off while we're installing the thing in their house to give them a better life?
I don't understand why you don't think that there's this amazing coincidence that the government is rolling out these 5G infused vaccines, and at the same time, the same government wants to deal with the broad. I don't know. Well, I mean, is that a coincidence? I remember a joke about coincidence.
So I will say, speaking of 5G, it rolls into the next topic. I got my first 5G shot last week, and walking out of there, I didn't expect to feel as relieved and as happy as I did. I mean, I couldn't get there fast enough. As soon as I could enroll, I enrolled. As soon as the appointment came up, I took the first appointment. I didn't care how far I had to drive, or what time it was. It was so well organized. I was amazed. There was a branch from the Navy there helping with coordination. It was at the Heinz Convention Center in Boston. It took less time to walk through the front door and to get to the 15-minute observation area than it did sitting in the 15-minute observation area. But speaking about the 5G, I got my first of 2 5G shots.
I want to ask, which comorbidity did you lie about? The smoking or the emphysema or the...
Am I lying about obesity?
You know what? Well played. Well played.
And so management is on the list. So yeah, we're getting our 5G. Do you have your 5G, Biff? I can't remember.
I actually just got it on Tuesday, and the site is literally 5 minutes from where I live. So literally out the door to home, the entire cycle, 45 minutes.
Nice.
And which did you get? Which shot?
I got the Johnson & Johnson. I am done.
You got the Bill Gates. That's very nice.
Yes. Well, so it's one of those deals. So it's run by LA, and it's at my neighborhood park. And they, once again, they actually do both vaccines and testing at the same site. So as you enter, you essentially check in, and when they check in, if you're in the vaccine, you go to the right side. If you're on the test side, you go to the left side, and they split you. And but once again, really well organized. And even with a 15-minute waiting period, I was home basically in 45 minutes.
We've all seen. We're all sports fans, and we've all seen our favorite teams, whatever they've been. Every franchise has had a worst to first season. Every team out there in every sport has had a worst to first season. 6 months ago, or actually no, 3 months ago, the U.S. had the worst response to COVID, globally speaking. And we're not going down that rabbit hole, but globally speaking, the U.S. had the worst response every way you dissect it, from testing, from denial to whatever. In the less than 90 days, we've gone from worst to first, where the U.S. rollout of vaccines, the number of vaccines, the percentage of population that is getting it, and your experience, my experience, Joe's experience. You had a good experience when you got your shots, right? You didn't have any problems.
No. I was able to show my, white guy card. I said, hello, front of the line. And I work with people that work in hospitals. So I say I jumped the line, but really, I didn't. I took the opportunity that was granted to me by God. Right. And, I had no problems.
Think of all those anti-vaxxers you cut in front of you, monster.
I got the Moderna, and although the second shot, something, I got a little bit of a reaction, but it was fine, and now I'm cured.
There's 3 people on this podcast, and I got the Pfizer. So literally we can compare notes in a couple of weeks when I get my second shot of which one. But no, so I'm really excited about that. But seriously, to see what the difference of the last 3 months has made as far as the response to this. Because now, as we talked, it's like I was looking forward to doing tours at the end of this year. Right. But talking to the military people I work with, it turns out that we're doing such a better job that it used to be like, oh, I'm not going to be able to go on tour because we can't get our shit together. No, the places we're going can't get their shit together. Well, and it's like, that's honestly, we're the richest country. This is the way it should be.
Well, so the one thing is though, the one advantage that the U.S. had, or the one thing that U.S. has is that we've got the supplies. All right. I mean, I don't know if it's the same thing that's happening in your area, but right now, people 50 and older are eligible in LA, and on the 15th, midweek this week, everybody over 16 can get it. But like Cal State LA has a huge site, and they basically announced, hey, it's open for everybody because we have more openings than there are appointment reservations. So they're vaccinating anybody and everybody at some of these sites, these mega sites, because the supply is so high right now. So and so partially that's one of those partial credit to the people who established the supplies. But in contrast, where I see the big difference is like Japan is just now rolling out vaccines to the elderly, because they were not in a position to, they were essentially buyers from the outside. So they're competing with every other country versus, U.S., who basically had the lead position, and even because they gave the funding and whatever else, right? So that is a huge difference about, what we got here. So, great, and that's, as you said, this is what the U.S. is supposed to be the best,
right?
And this is where it's kind of coming into
So it turns out elections matter.
Yeah, and I just thought of something. Biff, you said you're getting the Johnson & Johnson shot.
That's correct.
Yeah, so you actually have like a collector's item, because remember the Johnson & Johnson vaccines could have been a whole lot more of them if they didn't fuck up that supply in Baltimore.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
What was it, like 50 million doses or something?
It was
fucked up.
Yeah,
and where it's a one-shot thing, that's literally 1/7 of our population.
Yeah,
one out of every 7 people could have had that.
Yeah, I'm getting the number mixed up, I'm sure,
but it was a big number.
And then it's the week, like a week later, it's like, yeah, the government's taking over control. I'm like, they weren't in control to begin with. Like, they weren't overseeing it.
Again, we're not looking backwards, looking forward, but to go from worst to first, it feels good.
No, absolutely, and just to see that, I think we're at a point where, given that most people do take the vaccine and we do get that whole, herd, immunity, threshold, we could be opening up, pretty fully, in the summer, right? I mean, that's the hope, right? I
mean, Texas must already have a time machine, because they're already in the future where the Rangers are fully open. We'll get to that later, but that's another interesting thing this week. I mean this when I say this. I, for a work thing, had to go out to storage, rummage through a couple boxes, and I had to find my college yearbook. And I had an idea where it was, but it's in a box that I haven't seen in a very long period of time. Digging through this, both Biff and Joe know this, I ended up finding a couple old scripts that I wrote, one about our friend Taylor.
Wait, you just said this is interesting.
And I also found my stand-up notes from 98, and I was going over them a little bit with Joe. I was going over with Ellen today. In 98, I was a front runner to be Anthony Jeselnik before Anthony Jeselnik was Anthony. I don't want to say it doesn't hold up. It doesn't pass the, Time's Up, Me Too movement.
Yeah, you were actually, that material, you were the subject of what Anthony Jeselnik makes fun of.
Okay,
like, you know what I mean? Like, he's doing a parody of the comedy that you would do.
I would do.
Earnestly.
Like, well, some of the stuff. I mean, actually, it wasn't that bad, because it was one of those things where I was the target of everything. I would talk about, turns out I'm attracted to a certain type of woman, a woman who doesn't tell me to fuck off when I say hello to her. I'm watching a porn and I see a woman with a nipple ring, and I'm thinking someday she's going to have to explain to her child why she has a dribble glass for a boob.
Wow. I'm just looking at your arms, because they must be so ripped from carrying all that gold this week. Just lifting that gold, reading the scripts, going, wow.
And Joe sadly was sharing the same open mics I used to go and do that in 98. But it was like finding my own personal time capsule. And on one hand, it was a nice little walk down memory lane. And on the other hand, as I'm working out stand-up routine now, I'm like thinking, not a lot of growth. not a lot of growth there.
You're like, nipple ring, keep.
Yes.
There's a lot of keep. It's kind of like when Mr. Potter in It's a Wonderful Life was going through all the draft, she's like 1A, 1A, 1A. Everything was 1A for you. All the jokes. There was no 4 F's in there. There was none of them.
There was no George Bailey's in there. No. But it was funny to kind of inadvertently like stumble across that stuff. But yeah, there's some stuff. It's like, yeah, I can salvage that. But there is some stuff in there. I'm like, I have kids now. I have some self-respect.
Other people have kids too,
right? You know? So I'm like, no, that's pretty good. But I've been on this kick lately where I found that I've been talking to Joe. I actually roped Joe. I've talked to you more this week than probably the last couple of months because I'm trying to pull him into starting a couple open mic stand-up workshops, not just straight up open mics, when things start to open in like 4 to 5 months. I'm trying to put the ducks in a row, largely because before the pandemic happened, when it looked like I was going to do a bunch of tours, Joe and I were online in a 7-day period from Sunday at midnight to Saturday night at midnight within a 50-mile radius. What did you find? Like 3 places that had open mics.
Yeah, and none of them said comedy.
Right.
Like a lot of them was just like, poetry and vagina monologues. But I think they said like drummers.
Whoa. I thought vagina monologues was Jock's specialty.
Only sometimes he thinks vaginas talk to him, and then that's the monologue that he's getting. But no, I mean, it would literally, like, these open mics would say like comedians and drummers need not apply. It's just, I don't know. We were living in the Twilight Zone.
And it's like there's so many huge comic names come from here, a lot of writers. There was one open mic on the other side of Boston. It's this town called Quincy that from here to there, no traffic at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night. Takes an hour and 15 minutes to get there. And it's like, I don't have 4 hours to do a 5-minute set. So coming out of the pandemic, I'm hoping in Lowell or Worcester,
the hot spot.
The hot spot. No, look, I'm lazy. It's right down the street. But Worcester's 150,000, people
miles away.
Yeah, about 40. but they have a AAA baseball team. Lowell had a AAA hockey team.
I got a AAA battery. Yeah, we all have AAA things. Look, I got AAA card.
But I am. I'm like, trying to. On the other hand, it's like it's been fun, like working with Joe, and then there's been a couple groups of people. Most of them have been on the podcast at one point. Our friend Sam, Jenna.
Why don't we just do a podcast of our stand-up to each other?
We should. That way you go. The kid Matt, who was on a few weeks ago, and it's been this little collaborative we've put together where we have an audience to rehearse stuff, but at the same time to workshop jokes after that. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe there's, and I don't want to say a market for it. This isn't a get rich slow scheme.
Get poor quick.
But yeah, between that and a couple other projects, it's been a productive week. Other than getting my Pfizer shot. What about you, Biff? How has your week been?
Took a couple of days off, caught some bass, and hey, that's the highlight of my year.
It's all about that bass. about that
bass.
Where did you go?
I went to Castaic, actually right by Trefarier's neighborhood. So,
I know where that is. It's like 1 or 2 exits past the rink.
That's correct. North of the rink. It's like, I guess when you come down the hill after the Grapevine and all that stuff, it's one of the major stopping points if you're coming back from the Bay Area to LA. So yeah, the Castaic Junction, as they say.
Jacques, would you ever go fishing?
No. I kind of almost was around fishing like 2 summers ago when the boys and I drove through Austin and we stayed with my friend John. He took the boys. We all went out to this awesome place. It was a beer commercial. We went to a beer commercial. There's this place, a friend of a friend has a cabin, a mile and a half secluded. It's nice, but it has this rock thing where you can jump off into like a bottomless pit.
Where's this place again?
It's just outside of Austin.
Where's this bottomless pit I can jump into?
It's this podcast. It's called Carnival Personnel, and you willingly came back here. So as a conservation thing, at one point, this thing empties out into a river, but it narrows. And my buddy John, as a favor to the property owner, goes out there a couple times a month and fishes, and then takes the fish and dumps it downstream because it can't get over. So it was a conservation thing. So the boys said, I said to the boys, do you want to fish? And they're like, well, Papa doesn't eat meat and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, this is, you're helping save them.
It's a fish rescue.
It is. I also, don't tell the wife. Just both of you shut the fuck up.
He's going to have a koi pond in a couple of days. Don't worry about it.
Biff has a koi pond.
You don't really need a pool, do you? You don't need a pool.
Right.
Don't. You can make that happen, Biff. But I've also said to the boys, specifically, Biff, pre-pandemic, maybe 2 times a year, 3 times a year, he does these half-day charter boats where you can go, a couple miles out and do serious deep sea sport fishing. And I told the boys, if you are curious about this, if you want to eat fish, if you want to give it a try, I'm 100% on board. Biff would love to take you out, but you have to catch it, clean it, gut it, eat it. And if you can do that, my hat's off to you. So Biff has. I've been to Biff's house when he's come home with some, big trophy fishes that he's ended up cooking for the F&H crowd and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah.
Part of that is a lie. It's, what he really meant to say was, if you want to take Biff out, have Biff take you out, so that I have to deal with you for freaking half a day, I'm all for it. That's what he meant to say. But
it's a win-win, Biff. Why, why do you have to find the cloud inside the silver lining?
But so. Ocean fishing, though, ocean fishing is when I do keep a lot. I don't keep everything, and then there's also limits, right? So you can't necessarily keep everything anyway.
Where would you put
it? Right.
Yeah.
But when I go bass fishing, I release all of those fish, so I don't take those home. So
yeah,
so they're all catch and release.
Most like the girls I dated before I got married.
What about the girls you dated after you got married?
You know what? This is going to be the one podcast she listens to, asshole. This will be the one time she listens.
But you were telling me that, that's why you paid them so they would leave.
Right. That's you're not paying the prostitute for sex. You're paying her to leave after.
All right, Mr. Gaetz.
So 2 years ago, if either one of you chuckle fucks said to me, you know what? You're going to absolutely love Little Nas X someday. And I tell you, if my sons sing that fucking song one more time, I just hope things work out in the foster care system for them. Flash forward to April of, maybe it was, since
March
last March.
Yeah.
Little Nas management says to me, are you following what's going on with Little Nas X? And I looked at her and said, this is Jacques. You must be confusing me with one of your other boyfriends. That guy on Twitter is, you know what? He's a black Richard Marx. He is just one of the best follows. Everything he posts is hysterical. And of course, I'm talking about the uproar over his video, which I haven't seen yet.
Oh, right. With Satan?
With Satan. Do you know what this is all about, Biff?
Oh, isn't it tied to some shoe or something like there was some a shoe with blood in it or something like that?
So he does a music video. Fun fact, black country guy, gay. And he does a video where he slides down he goes to heaven and he's like, yeah, this scene ain't for me. So he slides down a fireman pole to hell.
Or a stripper pole.
No stripper pole. Yeah. You're right. See how out of it I am? He slides down a stripper pole and proceeds to give Satan a lap dance. And people who tend to like country music tend to not like what's that word? Black people or gay people. And if you got they loved him 2 years ago with Old Town Road. Like he was one of the good ones then. Loved him then. But now
he brought Billy Ray Cyrus back.
He did. Did Billy Ray bring Nas X to the world? Little chicken and egg thing there. But so his video upsets a lot of people. And he just instantly, like one of my favorite posts, he was at some music show a year ago where he had the most flamboyant of flamboyant outfits on. It's like, y'all surprised this guy's gay? He didn't say this guy. He used the word the three of us won't throw out there.
Oh,
but every time somebody says something, he was just awesome. It's like, you've all been telling me I'm going to hell anyways. Why are you so upset when I did?
The thing about Lil Nas X is he can use two words we can't say.
Yes. Fashion, and what was the other one?
Style.
But he is. And so somewhere along the line, he came up with this rip-off, Nike shoe that has like a drop of blood in like the stitching.
Yeah, man.
And I think it has like some other satanic like pentagram. Pentagram. Thank you. See, again,
I don't know.
White.
I was told there would be no math.
So honestly, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been following that dude, and he is doesn't get upset, doesn't get flustered, doesn't call names back. He points it all back to him like a lot when he's like, so you saw what you wanted to see then, but same, wearing these same loafers and whatever else. But seriously, Lil Nas X, big fan of. I'm a big fan of him. I've forgiven him for Old Town Road.
I got to check it. That's kind of how Rob Halford described, being, so Rob Halford, the lead singer for Judas Priest, and him describing him coming out as like, did you see what I was wearing?
Wait.
You be surprised.
Rob Halford is gay? I have to sit down somewhere else right now and just kind of collect my thoughts, rethink everything I thought was true.
Well, it is. It's one of those things where we had a friend at college who had a gigantic wall banner. One of those really nice ones you win at like the Wilmington 4th of July.
I always liked the neon mirrors.
So I had a Rush. I had a Rush moving picture.
Well, let me check the color of your skin. Yep. Checks out.
Wait, got a penis. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Right. Check and check.
And he was devastated when the news came out. He's like, so all those love songs are about a dude? It's like, oh, but yeah. So I've, and I'm quite sure me forgiving Lil Nas X for Old Town Road comes as quite a relief.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's the other thing. I'm going back a step. I said I had two big winners on the Twitter this week. One was the thing about the POTUS. The other thing was, and I think Biff pointed it out, there's a Komodo dragon loose in a convenience store, and it climbs up.
It's not a Komodo dragon. It's not a Komodo dragon. It's a monitor. Komodo dragons are scary as fuck, and they don't go into convenience stores. So no.
And what was this creature?
I think it was an Asian water monitor.
Did it look fucking scary as hell?
And it's not Komodo dragon. You know why Komodo dragons are scary as fuck? On top of all that scary looking shit, it's got constantly. It has perpetual drool coming out of its mouth, and that's what makes them scarier than the other lizards.
Well, I saw this thing, and I'm like, well, I haven't left the house in the last year, and I think this is about 2,000 miles away, at least from where I am. So I'm going to leave the house never again.
Yeah.
You have 400 likes on it, just killing it on the Twitter.
Well, you're piggybacking on the Patton Oswalt train that you were.
What did he say?
No, I think you replied to his.
Oh, it was his.
Post.
Yeah. Well, my biggest tweet was easily at one time I found a page from my old yearbook and saw this one photo of this person perform. Back in college they used to bring in people to just perform on campus, and I saw this person and I'm thinking that looks a lot like Melissa Etheridge, and I need to find out. So I basically cropped that photo and tweeted at Melissa Etheridge and said, hey, did you happen to perform in Caltech circa 83, 84? And she goes, yup, that's me. And she started telling their story about how, look at those boots. And man, that guitar was stolen. I missed that guitar.
Oh, wow.
And of course, I got a gazillion.
Dude, that's awesome.
Because of Melissa Etheridge. But, obviously.
I want to remind Biff that he also got into some hot water on Twitter. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't there some?
No, that was not hot water. That was entertainment.
What was it?
Hot water.
What was it? A Star Wars thing? I forget what.
No. I basically called. I think I basically called Batman. Hawkeye with better, with a better suit and better toys or something like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like just a guy that had, a bunch of like neat gear, but really no skills or anything cool.
To quote Batfleck, so what are your special powers again?
I'm rich.
It's like so that was even by Biff's nerdy understanding of how the Caltech people, and he's been in these circles of special people, he was a little unprepared for how adamant people can defend.
I was actually completely prepared from the standpoint of I listen to your idiotic arguments all the time about how Batman and his intelligence and his he could outsmart Superman. Dude, Superman is just gonna crush him. End of story. It's like this, and so
he was
similarly. It's like King Kong versus Godzilla. Godzilla breathes fire. End of story.
Radioactive fire.
Yeah. So it's like why do you think that's a battle?
We'll get to that. That's on the list. But I will say, honestly, when you started to go down the road of photos from Caltech, I thought you were going to bring out, you found this photo from Caltech performing as the Partridge Family.
That's true. I was Keith Partridge.
Nice.
You were stunning, what you were.
May I say you still are Keith Partridge? In my eyes.
Dead?
No.
David Cassidy's dead.
No. Keith Partridge, man. He'll never die.
He'll never die. Him and Ruben Kincaid are out there killing it.
Yes.
Killing it. Ruben Kincaid?
Yeah, what about him?
Who's, you know who Ruben Kincaid is, Biff?
He's the manager.
Yeah,
I know that. I thought you were going to give me a fun fact. Like, he was gay.
No, that's not fun. Oh, my.
What's the matter with that?
Nothing.
Oh, God. Shock's canceled. Shock's canceled.
Okay,
that means I take the podcast over. Oh, no.
Yes.
Damn it. No. You don't literally have to take off your headphones and do a walk away.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
That's a sprint away. Let me do what the kids do. Oh, you're doing your impression of my dad.
On Father's Day.
Daddy's Issues, episode 4. So I'm gonna, speaking of cancel culture, let's talk about cancel culture.
Please, it hasn't been talked about enough.
I am tired of these snowflakes out there wanting to cancel things left and right, and it's getting out of hand. It's like now they want to cancel. Oh wait, no, I'm just being told that's the conservatives who are now the kings of cancel culture.
What?
What are we canceling this? What is Mitch canceling this week? MLB.
Why?
Which is funny. They're canceling MLB in a stadium in Texas with 38,000 fans. So I don't think they're canceling.
No, Georgia.
No. And the Texas Rangers opened the other day to a 38,000 full house stadium. At the same time.
And 3 masks.
Yeah, one of them was the catchers.
Right.
All week here. All week, folks. It's comedy stylings with Joseph Lorenko. No, so we're here. What's going on in Georgia, of course, the restrictive thing. And, people like me did at first say, hey, Coca-Cola, you should.
Oh.
Aspartame in your diet. Hold on.
We'll get back to it.
Oh, we did we have to desynchronize our.
Yeah, can you.
What?
Well, hold on a sec. Because where Ellen's working. Hey, babe.
You're doing your podcast. That's why I hung up.
Yeah, no, but it kicked us off because when you call on FaceTime, it comes through the computer. So.
Okay.
Joe, I still say hello.
Hello.
You okay?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
All right. We talked with Paul. It was awesome.
What?
We talked to Paul, Adam's dad.
Yeah.
Hysterical. It was absolutely hysterical. But Joe's still here, and we're doing the other podcast, so I will call you in the morning. Love you, babe.
Love you. Good night.
All right. Sorry about that. She didn't know we were still doing this, and
that's all right.
If I turned that, I'd have this ringer turned off, but it's like, why am I hearing her?
So now I'm not trying to get this video.
So where are we rewinding back to?
First, I can't see you on our screen yet. So why?
Okay.
Why is that?
I do not know.
I don't know what's happening.
Oh, there we are.
No, I can see us, but I can't get back to the.
That's weird.
No, just
hold on. We got it. We can't do this. Hold on. I'm going to pause. Go.
So, what of course we're talking about is the reaction to what's going on in Georgia. Georgia really wants to make sure, hey, but I shouldn't say Georgia. The powers to be, the white powers to be in Georgia, wanted to make sure that everybody knows just because a Jewish guy and a black guy got elected to go to the Senate, we're still a bunch of racist fucks who control everything. And to make sure we can keep controlling everything, we're going to, you can't even say disenfranchise. We're going to make it nearly impossible for black people to vote. We won't go into the details. Everybody knows them.
Yep.
But at first, people like me were like, hey, Coca-Cola, hey, Delta, how are you cool with this happening? And within a couple days, Coke and Delta and a couple other people are like, no, we're not cool that this is happening. In fact, we're very uncool that this is happening, and which launched the other side, the anti-cancel culture people to go full on cancel culture from the top, from Florida man to Mitch McTurtle, flat out saying, conservatives like baseball too. Conservatives drink Coke. And what I thought was the most hysterical things is Florida man railing against, he lists like the 20 companies he wants conservatives to boycott. He is going to boycott Coke himself, but of course takes a picture with trying to hide the Coke.
Yeah, it was actually like right behind his Diet Coke button. It was like, what are you doing, you fucking flaming orange turd.
Just reminding us that nothing's changed. And then the best thing is Mr. Citizens United, Mr. Companies are people, my friend, Mitch saying companies should stay out of politics.
Oh boy.
Did you hear that one?
No, I did not.
Oh, he was really adamant. And then he catches himself.
Well, no, actually, no, not stay out of politics. They should stay out of making political statements. But they should still be giving money to politicians.
Yes, right. The opinion should stay out of politics. The money should stay in politics.
Stay in politics.
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, Mitt Romney, who famously that was a big, and I don't know if it brought him down in 2012, but that was one of the things where he was on the heels of the Citizens United thing, kept being asked about it, and he very famously said, companies are people, my friend. Companies are people. And just the flip-flopping now. And, of course, Mitch trying to – just the twisting into a pretzel that they're railing against.
And, man, is he good at it, though.
He is really good at it. But
he's better at making cookies in that treehouse.
But the crazy thing is – it's not crazy. It's just you – I don't know if you have to be disgusted or just applaud. And I mean that. They are so brazen that you have to applaud that they just put it out there and there's nothing you can fucking do about it. The governor of Georgia, behind closed doors that we talked about last time, signs this horrible Jim Crow piece of legislation surrounded by 10 other white guys in front of a picture of a plantation. I mean, it's like if it was in a movie, you'd be like, all right, that's a little heavy-handed. We get it. They're racist, but we don't need it.
Wasn't there somebody else that wanted to be in, on the show? Wanted somebody knocking on the door, maybe?
There was a state senator who was politely by herself knocking on a door, no bear spray, no zip ties, no body armored, who was, dragged away and arrested and charged with 2 federal counts of obstruction. And one of the very interesting things is that piece of legislation is supposed to be signed in a public forum. Mm-hmm. It should be open to the public, especially a seating state senator. So she was doing her job, except she kind of messed up. I use the word she, so that's mistake number 1. And then she just fucked up and she decided I'm not going to be white. So it's really, she has nobody. If she had a dick and was white and conservative, she would have been more than welcome to go in the room. But she chose not to be white and not to be a dude and not to be conservative. So Really?
A triple threat, really.
Right, exactly.
Literally a triple threat to the Republicans.
Hey, you know what? But it's 1963, and maybe some days it gets better.
The thing that the part of this though that's kind of hilarious for me is that, so in response to this, right? I don't know if it's a law yet, but I know that they're pushing this bill to strip Delta of a fuel tax credit, which is like, that is the kind of tax credit that the conservatives want to give to big business, while a lot of the conservationists and the pro environmental people want to kill. So like as in the process of canceling Delta, they're doing the libs,
a solid.
That's the whole thing. It's you go down the list.
They hit them so much that they'll go on the lib side.
They nailed the cell phone. I'll tell you that the Republicans, they really do nail the cell phone.
They do. Well, the great thing is, and I have a friend from high school who's a conservative, but he is, for women's choice. He's quote unquote like a fiscal conservative, but in every other thing, he's a real, like. You know what he calls gay marriage? Marriage. But he always says it's like, oh, the free market. Well, except when the free market says we're not getting on your planes and we have to bail the planes out. We're not going to buy your cars. You have to bail them out. He's like, yeah, they're all for the free market until they need the handout. They're too big to fail. And it's the same thing. I think it's either Disney. I think it's maybe Disney who is putting out there, Walt Disney World or Disneyland, Disney World's in Florida, sorry, that they might require a vaccine passport. And the governor down there is saying, no, we're not going to do that. You can't make people show. And so you're like, okay, wait a minute. So you can step in and say, oh, we don't want to make a gay wedding cake. A business has a right to say who they want to serve. But in a global pandemic, if a company like Disney says, yeah, we don't want to put every one of our, employees and our other guests at risk, we want to require that people show that they've been vaccinated, and the government steps in and says, no, you can't regulate that. We're not doing that.
Now we do want voters to show their IDs.
Yes.
Before they have the legal right to vote. But that's a different story.
That's a completely different story.
Yeah.
And they cannot finish a complete sentence without contradicting themselves. I'm going to point out what Stephen Colbert had said on his show the other night, moving on to the next subject. He said, he was talking about the drug ecstasy. And he goes, if you don't know what ecstasy is, it's the feeling you get when you find out Matt Gaetz is trending. And it's horrible because we're talking about child sex trafficking for real, which is really weird that the QAnon people have completely disappeared.
Yeah, where'd you go? This is like showtime. Come on. And 5, 4, 3, 2. You're on. You're lying, George. Or you're lying.
Do you really think I should swear?
Yeah.
But seriously, they were awful quiet about like priests and awful quiet about like the Florida guy when he was in there. And here it is, yet another one of their own. We don't know if Matt Gaetz was having sex with a 17-year-old in a pizza kitchen. He very well. My favorite thing, as we're recording this, and it's 48 hours before it drops, so much could change. Venmoing the money. Publicly.
Oh my God! Right? You see the Venmo trail is hilarious.
So
my God!
Clarify what the Venmo transaction was. It was Matt Gaetz Venmoing money to an entity, a person, right?
Who himself is looking about 40 years of jail time.
Right, and then but what did that person do? I mean, I can Venmo you money, and I'm not being charged with sex trafficking. Now, how do you connect the dots?
Well, you then take that money and you forward it to 3 other women who may or may not be women because they're children who are 17.
Is it the exact amount of money that I just Venmoed or Matt Gaetz have just Venmoed this man?
I'd say to the penny, but that's not even descriptive enough.
Right, exactly. Are there micro pennies? Is there bitcoins in there?
And I Venmo. I Venmo once a week. I Venmo our piano teacher. And there's a button that can say public or private. Nobody fucking needs to know the exorbitant amount that I pay for piano lessons. And so I have that private button pushed.
Yeah.
And it's just awesome that the more you go, but at least the women in his office have stepped up to defend him. And that's my next favorite thing. There was an open letter from the women of Matt Gaetz' office attesting to his upstandingness as a citizen. Fun fact, not signed by anybody, but it was addressed from the women of Matt Gaetz' office. He had a note.
Right. I got a note. Sign Matt Gaetz' women. You know who would have figured out the Venmo thing? The 17-year-old that he was Venmoing the money to.
And for the first couple days, all the media kept saying, this 17-year-old woman, the 17-year-old woman. And finally, a lot of broadcasters finally, like, because people like me on Twitter, every chance they got were like, girl, child.
Yeah.
You know, an underage
because
girl.
you're watering down, or you're trying to like smooth over the fact that this guy might have had a sexy thing with a kid.
Right.
A technical kid.
I mean, I've always hated that because, of course, where Joe and I grew up, in the midst of like, the priest bullshit, it's like, oh, he molested. No. Why are we watering it down? It's rape.
Yeah.
You know
right,
what I mean?
right.
Why do we say, oh, they molested this kid? No, you didn't molest anybody.
Well, then we got with the news, they don't want to be making accusations and stuff without, proof. They don't want to be
but even
flat out.
Right. So flat out, Matt Gaetz, and what I love is again, and we're not going to talk about this person that much because, I've sworn it off, but the loyalty only works one way. like Matt Gaetz for the last 4 years has walked around full time wearing knee pads.
Well, but like the other one, you talked about women supporting him. I also saw that Marjorie Taylor Greene is wiping all of her social media of any photos of her with Matt Gaetz.
If you lose,
and so like these other people are just now reposting, hey, I heard Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to wipe the the internet with.
Is she trying to cancel him? Is she trying to cancel? Because it sounds like more cancel culture from the look. If you're too much for the juice space laser lady, if she wants to distance from you
right?
You got some serious but he did. I guess he asked for a pardon, obviously didn't get one, is hoping for some kind of statement, from up above, and the walls are shrinking on
I think even Fox News turned him down for some sort of thing.
Well, they've turned him down because originally, and so much has happened since the last podcast. They didn't turn him down at first. His good friend Tucker Carlson opened him on with welcomed him with open arms. Uh-huh. Did you see that interview?
I saw the weird part.
Don't you watch Tucker Carlson every night? Yeah. There. You remember?
You were there.
Right.
You were there.
That's like the end of Tommy Boy.
I lost my virginity, your daughter.
Frank, you were there.
You were there.
But when he doesn't throw Tucker on the bus, he's under the bus, so he's pulling him down with him. It's like, dude, you got to get some of this tire here. Right. So they've gone full on. Okay. But it's crazy how much they don't even talk about what's going on with that, which is fine. It doesn't really matter. But I'm thinking by the time this drops, by the time I hope it's something that doesn't get brushed over or go away, because this is serious.
Every day on Twitter, I'm seeing, oh, by the way, Matt Gaetz is being investigated for, possibly having sex with a 17-year-old woman and involved in sex trafficking. And then, I don't think it's going to go away because this is just too juicy a story. And because Florida man is not gobbling up the news every day. He's not drawing our attention away with shiny keys and stuff. We have a new focus.
Well, did you see his tweet the other day?
No.
Exactly. All right. Enough of that awfulness. Biff, what is happening in the homeland?
Well, once again,
Canada, Japan.
Okay.
To clarify,
he had 3 homelands.
Right?
He wasn't wanted growing up. Now he's wanted in 3 countries.
That's only 3. Obviously, crime runs rampant in Japan. Every week I see horrific videos, and so I sent you one of the news clips from this week, where I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it.
100% saw it.
That lizard was not in Japan, by the way. I just want to make clear.
That was in Thailand.
That was in Thailand.
I know.
Are those different places?
Sharks canceled again. Sharks canceled again.
As long as you're not talking about how our eyes look or something like that,
No, he leaves that
which
to
is another
you.
discussion.
That's like your thing, Yeah. Go on.
Anyway, these two hooligans were caught demolishing a crab display in front of a crab restaurant in Osaka. I mean, who would attack a defenseless plastic crab?
I thought you were going to say something about Nintendo World, because I was about to lose my shit if something bad happened in Nintendo World, which is in Osaka, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, see? Yeah.
Which is north of Tokyo.
Oh,
by about 2 hours on train.
It's actually west, but sure.
Northwest. So you sent the video, and again, it's like they're not suspects. Why are you giving them the curtain? Not you. Biff doesn't make these editorial decisions. Why are they blocking out these people's faces? They're doing it.
I mean, as I understand it, is that they're doing it, but it's not the media's job to out the identities of these people. That is the police's job. So once the police finds them and books them and everything else, then it's open season. But until then, they have to be blurred.
Now, wait a minute. Are you saying that the Japanese media practices restraint when it comes to people's privacy?
It's actually not that they practice restraint. I think it's actually legally required. I think they would be breaking laws.
It's a
breaking law. So, here in our country, it's like, hey, help us identify this asshole. The FBI is
or it's like, it's been alleged that this person did X, Y, Z, Y, Z.
Right.
So this is Social Security
and
number.
This is why he's a senator. And
so if this was a police thing, where I think if the police, called down and said, we need your help identifying these things, at that point, I think that the media can show that, because they're not showing this whatever footage, they're showing a police document, right? So I think that at that point it turns. So just like the last time where we had the old man stealing underwear from the balcony of apartment buildings, they had to blur the guy's face, but obviously there are people who know what that guy looks like, and he's probably been arrested by now. I should follow up on that important news story also.
Yes, we do need updates. Like Unsolved Mysteries, we need updates.
Yes, we do need updates.
You are a Robert Stack of Japanese crime.
Something like that.
If you or anybody else
That is one of the this is the thing that like you see all these crimes, even now, like all those insurrectionists, they still have those tweets out saying, we still need help identifying this person, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. You're right.
For a bunch of people who tell us that we all look alike, criminals get caught in Japan.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was going to say, why are you bothering to blur out the faces? Isn't that being redundant? Am I canceled? Did I hit the cancel trifecta button?
Yeah, that hit the post. That hit the post. You don't have the hat trick yet.
So I will say that clip, and we'll post it on Twitter, and if you want to if you could put it on Facebook, Biff. One of the things about that news clip is it completely dispenses the myth that everybody in Japan knows karate, because that guy had the weakest flying kick. I mean,
he attempted a flying kick?
He tried to. It's literally it's about like the size of the skeleton. It's like 6 feet tall. Or actually maybe it's 4 feet tall and he's shorter. I don't know how it works, but he tried to do this running kick, and it's like, dude, seriously?
Yeah.
That takes a lot of chutzpah, because how many times have you attempted a flying kick ever? Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to sort of have like confidence, or it's some sort of like
Star Wars kid lack
a lack of awareness, or you're just you have to be committed to even attempt a flying kick.
Could have been drunk.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then they just decide to jump on the top and pull the hold. Was there live crabs in there?
No. Well, probably inside the restaurant. I think the part of the reason why the restaurant didn't detect it. I'm thinking it's possible that it's one of those deals where the display is in the front of the building, but you go in and the crab restaurant is kind of upstairs from there.
Okay.
So I think, you know.
And did that happen at like 4 a.m? Because there was nobody on the street.
No, that was one of the things that they pointed out. It wasn't 4 a.m, but apparently it was kind of like, they say that kind of like a back street where there's not as much traffic.
Okay.
And obviously people aren't out as much in general, right? Because of a lot of the COVID restrictions and so on. So yeah.
But yeah, another week of just unacceptable crime.
Yeah.
Is shocking.
Unbelievable.
This anti-crab crime has to stop. I just want to be the first to say that.
Look, I've been fighting crabs since I was about 17 years old.
You're part of the problem, man. You're part of the problem.
I have a couple of those extra little combs if you need to borrow them. So
look at me. Do you think I need a crab comb ever?
Gotta have going.
So I'm now in a precarious situation because
or precarious.
6 of one, 2 dozen of the thank God you're here.
I'm the Alex Trebek now of.
You're not dead.
I wish I was.
Wait. Hey, Jock, can you do an Alex Trebek impression? Oh, never mind.
That there's a line, Biff.
I think Biff might be trying to like get an assist on the cancellation here.
He's a goddamn national treasure in 2 countries. I will say, just
I don't
briefly,
think people know him in Japan.
Did you guys see him? Did you guys see any Jeopardy highlights from this week? Aaron Rodgers was the host.
Yeah.
And one day a contestant did not know the answer. So they wrote the answer that said, why did they kick the field goal? Or who decided to kick the field goal?
Yes. And on Final Jeopardy,
Jeopardy.
He didn't know the answer, so he because the rules are the host has to read what's written on the placard there, and why did he kick? Remind the non-sports viewing audience, which is nobody except for me.
In the Packers game against the great Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Buccaneers had. It was something, I forget what the thing was. They needed a touchdown.
That's right. Yes.
And look, there's an old adage. It's like, okay, we need 2 scores. Let's get the field goal out of the way. Instead of going for it on like 4th and 8, we'll kick the field goal now. We're onside kick, and then we got another job at a touchdown.
They went for it and they didn't get
it. They went and it was one of those things. It's like, in theory, that's kind of. So if you were just making decisions based on an Excel spreadsheet and numbers and stats and not, there's Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the 5 fucking greatest quarterbacks in the last 10 years. Let's not take the ball out of his hand when the game matters the most. And even in the post-game interview that day, he didn't throw the coach under the bus, but he sure didn't fucking throw a lifeline and say, well, if you look at it was the right thing to do. It's like, yeah, maybe we could have gone for it, but, statistics say no. In the post-game interview, he was asked why they kicked the field goal, and he couldn't do anything except, I have no idea. I don't make those decisions. And so in Final Jeopardy, and it was deer and headlights. It might have only been 2 or 3 seconds, but it seemed like that pregnant pause went on for a couple trimesters.
Right. I wonder if the editor was a Tampa Bay fan. Added an extra couple of seconds to his reaction.
It's because Alex Trebek, a little under a year ago, somebody didn't know the answer. Or maybe they did, and they just wanted this moment with Alex when it's like, we love you, Alex.
Right. Yes.
And Alex Trebek is.
He gets verklempt. Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I'll give you a topic. The peanut is neither a pea nor a nut. Discuss.
So that was it. So no, the predicament I find myself in now is when I was doing the rundown, I painstakingly went to the vault and curated one of my favorite, self-indulgent theaters for my good friend Joe to play. But now my good friend Joe is here.
Yeah, I know.
And he also has accidentally started twice during the podcast, sing a DMX song.
Oh, no.
So at this point,
come on.
I think, you don't have to. I don't want to put you on the spot. Yes, I do. But if you want to find a DMX song that you think you kind of know, and I think I didn't put it into your head, you said Paul Lynde sing a DMX song. And then I will then try to find the karaoke, music for it, and I will try to mix it in. But if you want to give it a try,
I can't, only because I don't know a DMX song well enough. I really all I know is, y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here, but I only know the chorus. I don't know any rhythm or cadence. I couldn't do DMX justice. I don't want to. I mean, the man he just recently passed. I don't want to disrespect DMX.
I understand.
I don't want to disrespect rap in general. I mean, I already kind of did that with the Beastie Boys and Vanilla Ice, by the way, which was already a disrespect. It was like a meta kind of disrespect.
How do you culturally appropriate something that's been culturally appropriated?
By the way, let's point out that the two raps that I've done on the podcast are by white artists.
Yep.
So it's like
artist. I'm not throwing artists, making it plural.
No. The artists were the Beastie Boys.
Okay, the three of them.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
All right. Yep.
So unless Biff wants to do a self-indulgent, do you have a recommendation or suggestion, or was there ever have you ever listened to any of my dumb impersonations and go, you know what, that would sound great if he was reciting the Declaration of Independence, or if he was,
I should start thinking a little bit more deeply because, like you, I am a huge Paul Lynde fan. I grew up on Paul Lynde. I'm a little bit older than you, but just in between the Hollywood Squares and Bewitched, right? I mean, that was so central to my upbringing. And, Paul Lynde was I have a hard time describing what television was like to my children because it was such a different, way of presenting entertainment than it is today, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was very, very show busy.
Right, but there's also the whole concept of variety shows, right, is something that I can, I can't. My son has no idea why anybody would watch variety shows. And that was most of the programming, right? Not most, but a lot of the programming.
Yeah, because these kids today, they don't know about broadcasting and having to appeal to a large swath of people that have varying tastes. Where it's just you might not like the guy that yodels, but your grandmother who's next to you might like the guy that yodels, and then you'll like the singing lady or something like that.
You would.
The plate spinner.
You would watch TV help me out with the word.
Jenna Jameson Lee? Generationally?
Grandma, daughter, or grandson, all that. Because I remember I would be at my Uncle Bud's house and his wife and her spinster sister who lived down the street lived for Lawrence Welk. But you would have Lawrence Welk doing an ABBA song.
That's why we have Bing Crosby and David Bowie singing, Little Drummer Boy, right? I mean, that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and it is. And back then, because Joe and I have talked about all of these, there was a special once a week. Somebody had a variety show on almost weekly, or whether it was the Donnie Marie show that lasted half a season.
Donnie Marie went a long time.
Donnie Marie lasted.
No, you're thinking of Pink Lady and Jeff.
Yeah.
Those are the mimes. Who are the mimes?
Shields and Yarnell.
Shields and Yarnell, yes.
Look at Biff with the big gloves. Say,
yeah. I mean, everybody had a variety show in the 70s because it was so cheap to produce, and they were there were monsters.
One guy wrote them.
They were Donnie Marie or the Osmonds, and then you had Cher, Sonny and Cher. But then if there were variety shows now, you would have Paul Lynde doing a DMX song. Because that's kind of like what they did.
Yeah.
They would appropriate songs. You would have Lawrence Welk, white bread singers doing, soul songs.
Well, that's what they did. Well, they literally had Steve Allen basically recite rock lyrics, right? Because Steve Allen was notoriously an anti-rock music guy, and so. And his thing was that I'm going to demonstrate how stupid this musical form is. I think was the kind of the premise of it. So he would basically recite lyrics to rock music songs, and that was one of these ongoing shticks.
I just want to say, if you're not Steve Allen,
You're stealing my bit.
Okay, so we will now go with what I had curated from the vault, which is our good friend Joe as John Oliver singing the theme from Cheers way back from May 20th, 1990.
19 what?
19.
You're okay there?
No.
19.
19.
No,
we were doing this in the 90s, baby.
That was the last pandemic. I get my pandemic years confused.
1918.
Sorry.
1918?
Hey, do you know, I actually, Matt Gaetz, I think for a little bit was kind of into the COVID-19, then found out how old it was.
I'm going to cancel you for that dumb joke.
I pulled my labrum trying to stretch for that one.
Oh, boy.
I figured I'd ask him as nicely as I could if he would please find it in his heart to do John Oliver doing the theme from Cheers. And I was going to say, just do the first two verses from the show. The third verse is pretty great too, but it's not in the show about the guy who's like, does he become a cross-dresser or become
something
a woman?
like that? Yes. All right, so I here we go.
Here we go.
All right, this is just right off.
All you. I'm
right
just
off the old bean. Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? All those nights where you've got no lights and the check is in the mail. And your little angel hung the cat up by its tail. You know what you did, cat. And the third fiancé didn't show. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. Finally tonight, you want to be where you can see troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name. They all know your name. Roll out of bed. Mr. Coffee's dead. The morning's looking bright. And your shrink ran off to Europe and didn't even write. And your husband wants to be a girl. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. You want to go where people know. People are all the same. You want to go where everybody supposedly knows your name.
That's too much.
Finally tonight, alcoholism. Hilarious.
Oh, that's one of your top 3 impressions. I'm going to make you do more John Oliver.
I guess I only have 3 impressions then.
Okay, so here's
Labrium.
Okay, now into sport. I've already said it once. I'll say it again. Fuck you, Texas Rangers. Fuck you, the whole state of Texas, with the exception of Austin, my good friend John. But the Texas Rangers kicked off the season in front of over 38,000 people. And if you see the footage and you're not completely repulsed and just weep openly, then you're probably in the Proud Boys. Of course, the governor, who was to throw out the first pitch out of protest, didn't show up. So I'm quite sure that dampened everybody's mood. And of course, the Rangers got killed. What were you saying about like...
Oh, somebody tweeted about in reaction to people, going en masse, 100% capacity to opening day at Ranger Stadium. It's like, yeah, can you imagine explaining, having your loved ones explain to your kids why you died to go see the Texas Rangers of all things?
Lose.
Yeah, right. Just lose.
Now we're going to talk about Biff's favorite athlete of all time. Tom Brady's been in the news a lot this week for non-football reasons. Well, semi-football reasons.
Okay.
Have you been...
Wait a minute. I don't dislike Tom Brady.
Nobody does.
You hate him.
You hate him. Yeah.
No.
There are people who like Tom Brady, and then there are people who really like Tom Brady, and that's Biff. But his rookie card sold for a record-breaking, was it $2 million it went for this week?
I did not see that, but, no surprise, right? I mean, that's how it works, right? Great players, are going to, the rookie cards are going to get, yeah.
And then, and it's funny because I would have been completely caught off guard and have no idea what this next topic is, except it was a Saturday Night Live skit last week. Biff, do you want to bring on All-Star Tommy, or can you explain what NFTs are?
Well, it's, you know what? I only kind of tangentially know about it, but those are the ones where essentially these are digital products. They're not, they could be anything, right? But these are kind of these digital products that has a kind of a receipt associated with it, so that only a certain number of people or only one person can own it, kind of a thing, right? So it's kind of like this
certificate of authenticity,
right?
It's like a digital timestamp or whatever,
right. So essentially, I can own it and I can sell it, and there's a transferring of whatever that makes it. I literally lose ownership of it. I don't have it anymore. Somebody else has it, right? So I guess it's like another blockchain related stuff.
It's a blockchain thing that, right? And from what I understand, you don't own the rights to the image itself. You own the rights to the literal file. Because like there's metadata built into the file. So like if that file gets passed around online, like you own whatever, but it's bullshitty kind of. And the NFT stands for non-fungible token.
Yeah. And fungible's just you can't have fun without fungible.
I was going to ask my doctor if non-fungible tokens were right for me, but then I learned that it was something completely different. I love how every week now we have to fucking so-and-so explain to the audience what this is. We had to explain what GameStop stocks were.
Right.
The other,
can't we just have All-Star be like rotating? Hey, this has to do with money and stuff.
Yeah,
and you went to a real school. Yeah. Can you explain
Pretty
this?
soon, now I'm like, somebody came out. It was like the artist named like JoJo something. She's like a young 17-year-old pop star that came out on the news. And somebody had to explain to me who this person was, and I'm like, oh no,
I'm that guy.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know who this person is.
But honestly, SNL last week had and it was a parody of Two Trailer Park Girls Go Around the Outside, and it was Pete Davidson in the Robin outfit as Eminem,
right?
And it was pretty fun, but I guess Tom Brady is now and there was an NFT sold a couple weeks ago for like $66 million.
Yeah.
$66 million for
American dollars?
A meme. Yeah. Real money. Real money. Hey, I'm bringing this up for no reason except it just popped into my head, and I found out I was yesterday's year old when I found out that Helen Keller's dad. Do you guys know about Helen Keller's dad?
No.
Yeah. I don't think he was a general. What's a step down from a general?
Captain.
Like not a colonel, right?
Yeah, he's like a colonel in the Confederate Army.
Well, I'll be.
Yeah, I guess she came from money. Not enough money to buy her sight or hearing. But I don't know if I felt less bad for her that her dad was a Confederate, colonel. Anyways, has nothing to do with sports.
So now is she canceled by proxy?
She's canceled. Yeah, she's done.
Okay.
She's done. I'm going to put her in a round room and go tell her to sit in the corner. Biff, can you bring us up to speed on the Vancouver Canucks and their COVID situation?
Oh, my God. So the Vancouver has not been playing hockey for the last maybe 7 days.
10 years, if you ask me.
Well, yeah. But we don't, and we don't know when they'll be playing again because as of right now, I think they have over 25 people in their organization who has tested positive for COVID. The irony of it, well, not the irony of it, but so throughout this entire hockey season, the Canadian division, as they call it, the North, the Scotiabank North, has avoided COVID issues by and large. They had a few things here and there, but it's been mainly the American teams. Dallas being hit the hardest for a variety, not just COVID, for a variety of reasons, leading to game postponements and so on. But I'm at a point where the season is supposed to end in about a month. And I don't know if the Vancouver Canucks are coming back, right? And they're at a point where not only do they have this many people with COVID, but apparently people with actual, real symptoms and real, health issues. So
it's not people testing positive who are asymptomatic.
Yeah, it's obviously we've heard some athletes, a lot of the times they say, well, young athletes they should be fine. Well, they're not always fine. And that's what they're, dealing with in Vancouver. So I don't know if they're going to their season might be over. So
and so if there's a couple teams that have, because and because Biff has pointed out, I only follow the Bruins. I think the Bruins play 3 teams this season. I think that's every time I turn on, there's Buffalo. Wait, why do I know who the 4th line center of the Flyers is? And because it's such a small division that everybody's playing in, if you're going to miss 4 or 5 games, if the Winnipeg Jets are missing 4 or 5 games against Vancouver, and they're 3 points out of a playoff, they're going to have to play somebody else to make those games up, right? You can't screw over other teams.
I really think that they're just going to do what they did last year, which is, you know what? We're going by winning percentage. And once again, to show you that, you're not paying attention, Winnipeg Jets are solidly in the playoffs. So we know.
I'll use it now. The Montreal. No, but that's
Montreal Canadiens are also. You know what?
What Canadian team is on the outside looking in?
Calgary Flames.
And who else?
The Ottawa Senators, because
because
the Ottawa Senators. No, it's actually the Canadian division looks to be pretty set.
Okay,
so I think we know who the 4 teams are going to be. So it's really even your division. You know what your division is called?
I don't. I just know we're only 2 points ahead of the Flyers for that 4th seed. So last night,
well, you are the Mass Mutual East Division. But
can we go back to Norris and
wait
Adams
a second?
and Smythe?
I'm way out of hockey, man. They have brands for the divisions?
Yeah. So for this year only,
oh my God,
they realigned the teams to essentially optimize play based on COVID. So what they did was, because of border quarantine issues, what they did was, before they were more geographically like time zone,
oriented, yeah,
right,
yeah.
But with the at the start of the season, there was a 14-day quarantine if you enter Canada. So a Canadian team going to the U.S. to play a game has to quarantine 7 days in the U.S. and then when they come back, they have to quarantine 14 days. So obviously that wasn't going to happen. So they created an all Canadian division, and then the remaining teams they kind of tossed into however way they could. And one of the things that they did do in the process was, well, since it's only for 1 year only, we're going to get sponsorships for these division names.
Nice.
So yeah,
I was actually reading up on the strain of virus that the Canucks came down with. It was COVID-19A.
Yep.
COVID-19A.
Yeah.
See, in Canada,
I want to keep it myself.
Hey,
what's that thing over there?
No.
Yeah, it's called a door.
No, but yeah, I think I did. But in all seriousness, there was some talk about the actual strain having an impact, right? But whatever.
Talk about strain having an impact.
Right, yeah, strain having an impact.
Straining the stick.
We don't really do much video, but video games. Biff, we have an expert. What have you been playing this week, Joe?
What have I been playing with this week? Oh, you meant
no.
I've been on my computer. I've been like getting back into like old. I have an emulator program that can not only emulate old like Nintendo consoles and Super Nintendo and all that stuff, but also old computers. So now I'm like getting back to like the old Apple II computer. Remember
Load Runner?
Yeah. What's that?
Load Runner?
Load Runner, yes. Load Runner, I did. Did I play it? No, I didn't play any Load Runner. But like old, like, when I would go to computer lab in the 80s, and play like, there was a game called Cross Country USA. And you're literally a truck driver that has to go. It's a geography game, but you're in a truck. But it's like an RPG. Like you have to type in commands like turn on truck, get in truck, and then you type in like based on whatever commodity you have a list of commodities that you're supposed to pick up, and there's like documentation that comes with the game, and you have to go to the city that the commodity is housed in. And you have to drive along the highway, and you're literally, it's like that desert bus game, but it's a lot quicker,
This is pull to the right.
Exactly. No, it doesn't pull to the right, but like you have to like get out, eat, maintain gas, sleep. It's pretty cool.
You ever think that those in the 80s, they were trying to just train us?
Yes.
For menial labor.
That's pretty much it. It was indoctrination. Yeah. It was before the army got involved and started creating cool games like Call of Duty. Like this was like big truck getting involved.
Who was the truck people here? During the commercial, they're not TV 56 like every Brady Bunch commercial in the middle of the afternoon.
Oh,
like,
yes.
Growing up here, Biff, on the UHF channel, there was like 3 big UHF channels: 56, 38, and 25, which has become Fox. And every afternoon, every third or fourth, it was a precursor to Cars for Kids ad.
Was it like Peterson? No, not.
It wasn't. If you say it, will come to me. There was Barberson, if you want to be a model or just look like one. So
you want to start at the top at Blaine.
And so there was only like 4 or 5 advertisers, and there was always a truck one. And I remember being in high school. I'm 16, 17. I went to this comedy club called Nick's, and I remember this comedian. This is going back that far. Talking about it, and it made you think, it's like, wow, that guy's right. So when you see these people driving tractor trailer trucks, the week before they were home in their boxers in the middle of the afternoon watching the Brady Bunch, and now here they are out on the highway, driving a 16-wheel, monstrosity of death, and you're like, and so there was these truck commercials about learning to be a truck driver or the open road, and you're your own boss, and here's a CB.
Well, there was a weird thing with there was some not glamour, but there was a trucker thing, because I remember there was a trucker TV show in the 70s, and then there was but the whole CB radio,
say it. You were going to say Convoy.
We got a great big Convoy.
Maybe one of the greatest movies ever made.
Was it New England Tractor Trailer?
Yes. And I should. I'll try to rip the audio, and I'll play that audio. But truly, they ran at 1:30, 2 o'clock. It's like I would run home to watch Force 5 or Star Blazers. And here it is. Yeah.
Is this the video? I'm showing them the video on my phone. I don't know what it's called, but I think it's New England truck driving.
But seriously, they're like, oh, you can be out on the road in 3 weeks. It's like, no, this guy, if he was working at McDonald's, he wouldn't be able to use the register the first month. And now you're going to let this guy go from that to driving oh, sure, it's only filled with jet fuel. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, but at least, they're not, interacting with people. So that's probably a good thing for those people.
I also want to mention one other thing about video games that was notable in the past couple of weeks is that there was a recent auction that was held where a 1986 copy of Super Mario Brothers that was sealed had sold for $660,000. That's outrageous. It's literally now like the most expensive or highest sold at auction video game in history. But what was noted is that this auction site and this grading company that also slabs the game, basically slabbing meaning it puts it in an airtight container and then it grades it based on its quality, like a comic book.
I wouldn't know anything about stuff.
No, you wouldn't.
No, okay, good. A complete novice here. So, but I think there's a whole circle jerk of it's all these the what do they call those? The people who speculators, and then it's just rich people who just kind of trying to build up their collection, but then are also feeding the auction house is in on it, so it's they're making an industry. They're entrepreneurizing this thing to making it
So I'll give it a higher ranking, and you do this, and then we'll split the. It's really true. And how much did it go for?
$660,000 American dollars.
My question is, where'd you get the money, Joe?
You know what? It's a couple of kids you don't send to college.
You got a memo from Matt Gaetz.
Oh, man.
You did it publicly, Joe.
I know.
Hit the box.
Oh, stupid me.
But it was one of those things where somebody's cleaning out grandma's house. And
that's what they say.
Yeah, what they say.
That's what the story is. This is
little old lady from Pasadena just drove it to church on Sunday.
This is back to the conspiracy theory. Okay, they say this was socked away, but it's okay, they're apparently they get determined based on the style or the type of shrink wrapping, how when that was released by Nintendo, you know what I mean? They can tell between this month and this month they were shrink wrapping games this way, and that was definitely from that lot. And it's just how do you know? What are you talking about? And it's just I don't know. I think they're just trying to make mountains out of molehills. And you know what? The bottom is going to fall out because there is a collector's market for video games, as you probably know from me.
I've been to your house.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a podcast I listen to where they talk about old video games and in about 10, 15, 20 years, these old games are going to be like toy trains, model trains. It's going to be like, who gives a fuck? Nobody gives a shit. Kids now, your kids in 20 years from now, that when they're chasing their childhoods, they're not going to be looking they may be looking for old Switch games, maybe, but they'll be more than happy to just download that bullshit on whatever device or computer.
They're going to be holodecks by then.
Yeah,
that they're going to get lost in for days.
Oh wait, we're assuming that the Earth is going to be around when they're an adult. Oh, silly us!
All right, now a lot going on in the news, a lot of controversy, but let's get into it, Biff. Kong vs. Godzilla. Did you see it?
No.
Kong versus Godzilla?
Did you see it?
No, I did not. No.
I'm going to put it out there. It was
stunker.
Horrible.
Yeah, I heard it.
It was
stunk.
horrible.
I heard
and that's what my son said also.
My God, did I love it. Loved every minute of it. Management and I watched it. And it wasn't laughably bad, but it was.
You knew it was bad.
It was bad. And they paid, honestly, there were so many tips of the cap to the 1962 version.
The Toho. I mean, this was produced by Toho, right?
I think they were involved in it.
Okay.
But honestly, Biff, and look, it's been out for a couple weeks. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to completely ruin it for you.
Go ahead. I don't care about the spoilers if Joe doesn't care.
Pacific Rim. They're like, let's take some of the elements that really made Pacific Rim a special movie and incorporate that into here. Oh. And it was made by Legendary Pictures and cooperation with Warner Brothers, as with Pacific Rim. It was the same production company and the same studio that worked together on it, so they were kind of stealing from themselves.
I'm waiting for the Asylum Pictures version of this movie, where it was Atlantic Rim for Pacific Rim. Well, what's going to be Kong versus Godzilla?
You want to know
Wong
what
versus
Joe Young?
No,
versus the.
I've already seen it.
Kong versus Godzilla. It's already self-parodied itself. Right? It's like a snake eating its own head kind of thing, or tail rather.
It had no plot twist. But I will say, when I talk about all this stuff on Fox News, I don't watch it. I just see other people talking about it. They were quite upset because the real bad guy was a rich white billionaire.
Oh my God.
Like the bad guy. All these movies, the real bad guy is the rich white, industrialist. How predictable. It's like,
okay.
It was awesome, dude. It was absolutely awesome. Basically, Kong, comes into possession. Okay.
What did you think of Justice League?
Did you see Pacific Rim 100 times? So it caught me off guard, but Biff, I think you saw this coming. In the part of Pacific Rim where the Jaeger is in China, and he's fighting the kaiju who all of a sudden has wings, and you didn't know he had wings. It's the first time a kaiju flew.
Right. Yeah.
And he takes him up into the stratosphere, and they've exhausted all their rockets. They've exhausted all their, and unbeknownst to one of the two pilots, what special trick left up the sleeve?
Right. Yeah. So the arm turns into basically like a samurai sword, and she's, basically they split that monster in half. Right. Best part of the movie.
Right,
really the best scene of the movie.
And so at one point, not only does he come across a Minecraft enchanted diamond, pickaxe, but Kong knows how to use it like a motherfucker.
Oh, okay. He has opposable thumbs,
and he knows how to use tools.
Yeah,
he had to actually saw. Did
he watch a YouTube video on how to wield a sword? Is that how?
So wait. I thought it was Kong versus Godzilla and not Donkey Kong.
I'd watch that. I would watch that.
So seriously, as management and I are watching it, we're like, Okay, that's going to be part of the video game where Kong has to solve this puzzle to open this door. We're inside this throne room that his ancestors must have sat in millions of years ago. And as he sits on a chair, it triggers this thing to drip out of the walls and fill up this hole. But now he figures out, oh, if I get up this and I turn this knob, a wall's going to reveal, and here's an ancient
Indiana Kong. For crying out loud.
They threw it all in. It's so bad, but it was so great.
For crying out loud.
Now, okay, so he's getting his ass kicked because, as Biff pointed out, he's fighting a radioactive spewing, dragon from hell.
Yes.
But now he has an enchanted pickaxe from Minecraft. So he maybe, but you know what? Turns out
they have the same mother.
Turns out both their mothers were named Martin. So they did, and all of a sudden, and then the bad guy, the true villain, is revealed, and now they have to work together
to beat the white man. Yeah,
like I said, it was awful. And I cannot wait to watch it again.
I used to have a word that would describe something that was both awesome and awful, and I can't remember what it was. And you know what? I don't even think I'm legally obligated to or allowed to use it because it is now copyright the podcast.
But now as chief executive in charge of an audio board I don't fully know how to use because I'm not as evolved as Kong is for the I'll allow it.
So you would maybe describe this movie as awfulsome.
I 100% would.
Yuck.
It's the only way you can do it. Like I said, awful, and I cannot wait to watch it again.
See, that's, I would say that Justice League was awfulsome. But it was you remove some of the sum, and yeah, that's how I describe it.
So
did you watch the version that doesn't end, or did you watch the original version?
I watched the first 3 parts or the first 2 hours of the slow-mo circle jerk.
The slow mo thing. It got when we were watching it, management is like, oh my God, enough with the slow mo.
Yeah.
It's a 3-hour movie without it. And then about 2-3 days later, some complete film nerd, frame by frame, counted exactly to the second how much slow mo. And it
32 minutes or something.
It was like 10.
Oh, 10 minutes.
No. It was like 10%. 38% of the movie was in slow mo, and it's like look, there's a law. Look, I don't make the laws. I just follow them. Every superhero movie has to have 2 superhero walk up slow mo shot. You have to. You don't want to do it. You have to have at least 2 people jump out of a building and land on one knee. I mean, Deadpool called it. You have to do it. You don't have a choice. The 34th one I thought was
the slow mo Flash music video where he's saving his girlfriend from the car that's hitting the other car and the flying in the air and the hay and the ladies. That was a little unnecessary. Just like that little voice I just did.
So the other thing I watched this week, because it's Amazon Prime. It's only 3 episodes. It's called Invincible. It's a superhero movie about a high school kid whose dad is basically Superman from another planet. He's supposed to get his powers. He haven't get yet. And J.K. Simmons is his dad character. It's only 3 episodes. It takes a turn at the end. It goes from being this cutesy high school superhero cartoon to what the fuck is this?
I heard
it went Parasite on you.
I heard some things about it. I heard it's very good.
It is very good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if season 1 is just 3 episodes or if they release 3 episodes at a time, but it's like,
is there a rich kid with a lot of expensive toys in this show?
No, there was a character akin to that. But there's really only one, but I would highly recommend.
Are you watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Because I am not. Not yet. My wife is busy with stuff, and we usually watch that stuff together, so we're kind of holding off.
Management is working this weekend, so sadly, I will have to wait till Monday to watch this one. We like it. It doesn't.
I heard it's really good.
Well, that's the thing. It's like WandaVision. The first 3-4 episodes of WandaVision was such. What the fuck is going on? It was like nothing anyone has seen in TV like this. It was such a departure. It was so
off the wall for Marvel. which had kind of gone off the wall a little bit, but this was like really weird stuff that they were doing.
And how they made it all make sense is beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is. So this is kind of like a half hour at a time, lower end Captain America movie. And it's good. But again,
I get it.
You don't have to have seen every...
I know what's going on here.
You don't have to see every episode of every Marvel thing, but the relationship between the Falcon and the Winter Soldier from the movies spills over into this, and there's a couple little... Okay, it's a callback to the movie that's awesome, but it's good. It's really good.
Jacques, would it be better if it was Captain America instead of Falcon? If you know what I'm talking about.
Actually, yes. Those two white guys, it just would be. I mean, no, what I really like is in the first episode, and we've already talked about it, it's the Falcon goes to get a bank loan.
Oh, gosh.
It doesn't have proof of income. And the banker, on one hand, is like trying to take a selfie with him.
Is Colin Jost the banker?
Yeah, dude, it'd be so great if he was.
Oh, my God.
It'd be so great if he was. It would. But essentially, it's that. And so the banker's like, doesn't recognize him at first. And he's like, well, your paperwork. He goes, you don't know who I am? Oh, you're
right.
Wants to take a selfie. He's like, yeah, how do you make money? And it's the first time that anybody, he just saved the world. In the beginning of this episode, he's trying to help his sister keep the family boat, and now they're at a bank, and he's like, "Did Stark have a fun for you guys?" It's the first time in a superhero movie where somebody's like,
"How do you live?"
Yeah,
right.
It's
like going on Friends and like somebody walking in going, "How can you guys afford this apartment? How much rent do you pay?"
Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
I think I saw that like in 98 or something like that. That apartment was like $7,000 a month. And only one of them had a real job.
Right. And I think it was like a flower shop or something.
Yeah.
Flower shop.
But yeah, no, I'm really liking it. They're 3 episodes in. It's really starting to pick up. Again, the money that they're spending on shows, which is interesting because I just heard... And the old studio system where studios owned you were an indentured servant. It's like,
right. Yeah.
Same thing. Like, oh, great. I got signed by the New York Yankees to a lifetime contract and I'm a first baseman and someday I'm going to,
right.
No, Lou Gehrig's never coming off the field, motherfucker. You're staying in Trenton forever. But now Netflix is scheduled to put out 72 movies next year. 72 real movies. Like, Chris Helmsworth type movies.
Wow.
Your regular studio puts out anywhere between 3 and 5. Warner Brothers. And so they can't compete. But here's something I didn't know. I did not know that. They don't pay residuals.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they pay residuals? Residuals are for when you sell the show and it goes into syndication.
Yes.
But if a Netflix show never leaves Netflix, then there's no residuals to pay. So on one hand, they don't have that legacy cost of having to pay these things out. So they can put it all on camera and not have to worry about back end deals.
It's one and done, baby.
So it's interesting how...
Yeah, you can't get points on something. Like, how do you get points on a movie that's on Netflix?
That's it. And so the whole system is now being turned upside down. And instead of, people might go back to the theaters. I'm looking forward to going back to the theater. I toyed with, if I had my shot a couple of weeks ago, I would have toyed with going to still an empty theater to an 11 a.m. show on like a Tuesday or something like that. But I got a big screen TV and a comfortable couch. It's like I'm really enjoying watching these movies in the comfort of my own home.
There is something to be said about the movie-going experience, though. You want to see a comedy or something like that sometimes, or like a Marvel superhero movie with a bunch of fans that cheer and ooh and ah.
But those are once a year, twice a year type thing.
I'm holding out hope that I can go to. I think I'll be able to go to see Ghostbusters Afterlife in the movies this fall. Like there's that new Ghostbusters movie that's coming
by
out.
then, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I can. I'm hoping that I could. We can take the kids, and one of them's not a kid anymore, to go see Ghostbusters Afterlife. By the way, did you see the new little 1-minute Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer that dropped this week?
I try not to.
It doesn't really. I don't know if it spoils anything, but it's Paul Rudd who's in the movie. Paul Rudd is like one of the he's like the adult really in the movie. and he's walking through an aisle of a Target or something, and he sees like this packet of marshmallows that starts to move on its own, and then like all of a sudden something busts out of it, and he leans in, and it's a little tiny Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, about like a minion size, like this, like maybe 3 inches, 4 inches tall. And he's like, oh, well, how cute, and he goes to pinch its tummy like the Pillsbury Doughboy, and then it tries to bite his finger off, and then all of a sudden like a swarm of them come riding in on a Roomba. They're like taking over a grill and like grilling themselves on a skewer, and they're melting. One of them's like melting a like laying on a graham cracker with some chocolate over him, and like another marshmallow man is holding a torch and melting the chocolate over him. It's like a weird fucked up kind of thing.
That begs the question.
Yes.
If you were a hot dog and you were hungry, would you eat yourself? It's a simple question, Norm.
A baby can answer it. Hey, if you were a hot dog and you were starving on a desert island, would you eat yourself?
What?
Yeah, I guess I would. You made a wise choice, my friend.
I'd be covered with golden mustard. I'd be delicious.
No. 2 bad Harry Carey impersonations.
No, one bad Harry Carey, and then mine.
Yeah. See what you did?
Not that Will Ferrell's Harry Carey impression went well on the ESPYs either. So.
Oh God! Well, I mean, the ESPYs is full of humorless pricks, but in the audience. That's what I say. That's right. I'm canceling myself.
Okay, now this is a part where you always shine through, Joe. Parenting tip of the week.
Ah, yes. Parenting tip of the week. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to have to phone a friend on this one. I'm going to have to go to Biff. Biff, you're my phone a friend on this. What's the parenting tip of the week?
Make sure that you raise your son responsible enough so that when you send him with cash to go get food, he'll bring you back the actual food.
Nice.
And not magic beans.
Whatever the case may be.
You were
whatever it is that they might get otherwise. Skittles and Dr. Pepper. Who knows?
All right, I'll go with Biff's answer. That's my final answer.
So my parenting tip of the week. Life has presented us with a teachable moment for my youngest son as of recent. We are helping. We're helping people out that we know who have a son that's similar age, and these people are sort of mistaking kindness for weakness, and have tested the boundaries. And it's been a teachable moment for me to let my son know, hey, we're happy to help, and he knows that. On the other hand, this kid ain't my kid, and there's a limit. So you're going to have to come to grips with the fact that we might say goodbye to these people. And it's a life lesson to understand, never miss an opportunity to help somebody. At the same time, know when you're being taken for a ride. Mm-hmm. So it's my parenting tip is let your kids know, yeah, you know what? Don't get fucked over. So, that's my parenting. It's not as sweet and as cheerful as Biff's, but it's real.
You're like, that's like a David Horowitz fight back kind of thing, like a consumer advocate,
I was more going with falling down.
Oh, right. Oh God, what a great movie that was.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I got to go watch that again.
It's so I
don't know. Does it hold up?
No, it didn't hold up when it came out.
I thought so. In my mind.
And now you're going to die wearing that stupid little hat. How does it make you feel on the golf course when the guy does it? And
was that like the precursor to American Psycho?
No, it was a precursor to another movie that came out in the last couple of years. I'm trying to think of what it is, but yeah, there was a movie where it was very
The Joker.
Yes. All serious aside, yes, it was the Joker.
The Joker?
Where you know what? He was fucked up and had some problems, but it's like every chance life got to kick him in the nuts, reared back and Rochambeau'd him real good.
What's funny? Joker popped up on a Twitter thing that I was watching a while ago where it was like on a list of movies that you can never want to see again. Like, or not that it was bad. Right. It's just that you saw it and you don't ever feel compelled to ever see again.
There were at least, if I really thought about it, I could come up with a list of 20 movies I really liked that I saw once. Zero interest of seeing again. You know, Pacific Rim,
Rosemary's Baby.
I might go and see it, right? You know, upstairs when we're done. But right, there are so many movies, and The Joker, I'm glad I saw it. It was everything the people said it was. All the awards and the accolades that it got, well deserved. Never again will I intentionally watch that.
Right. Biff, do you have a movie that where you're like, you know what, that was all right, check, and then like, you know, it's in the memory bank, but it's not like something where you're going, man, I really got to pop that in and re-experience that again.
Other than the wedding video.
Oh.
No, it's usually stuff like, you know, it always ends up being movies like what the hell was that Kevin Costner Native American movie?
Oh, Dances with Wolves.
Dances with Wolves. Movies like that. See, yeah, I can't even remember the title.
How about like that's a great point, because that won Best Picture. A lot of those Best Picture movies now are like, you see them and like The Artist. Right. Remember The Artist? Yes. It was like a black and white silent movie. And it, you know, John Goodman had a cameo in it or whatever, but it was, and the dog was like the little breakout star because it barked or something. I don't know, some bullshit. And you watch it, and it's like Oscar bait, and it's great or whatever, and you watch it, but it's like, it's not a classic. Nobody talks about it anymore. Like nobody gives a shit. And
that's interesting, because every year the management goes through this thing. It's like, oh, all the Oscar movies are going to be on over the next 2 weeks. We have to watch them. And now and then I'll get sucked into, and it's exactly it. It's like, we're going to make an Oscar bait movie this year. And most of them, yeah, they're whatever. But a year later, it's like, yeah, we're still talking about Endgame. You know,
right.
Say what you want. Who was that fucker who like hated the superhero movies? It's like
Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, Scorsese. Nobody's talking about The Irishman. We're still watching Endgame on a loop.
People are still watching The Irishman. I mean,
Zack Snyder's like, wow, man, you got endurance.
Right. Zack Snyder was like in hour 6. I'm out.
Yeah. Wow, Marty, how do you do it?
Right, exactly. He's the master. This is why he's the master. And that one slow-mo shot, that's what really, you know, makes it advisable the rest.
Some painfully old actors moving slow, however.
That's so great how they de-aged him, and he still walks like a 65-year-old guy.
That's magic.
Right. By the way, fun fact, and I didn't know this when I watched it, speaking of de-aging, and I'm going off on tangents because I'm never coming on this podcast again, so I might as well get it all out right now. In de-aging, like the early parts of, or early days of de-aging, the Pee-wee movie on Netflix, Pee-wee's Next Adventure or Big Holiday, he was de-aged for that movie.
Oh.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, and you never really quite, you know, because he looked older in that movie, and you're like, okay, you know, he's got a lot of makeup on. No, they de-aged him.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I did not know that. When I heard about it, I was like, wow.
I had no interest in seeing that. And now I have oh, wait, this milk went bad? I got to get a swig of this.
Yeah, right. You got to taste this. Wow. So you never saw the Pee-wee movie? Oh, the new Pee-wee movie?
But not the new one, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I liked it. It was fine. I watched it. I mean, it came out like 10 years ago or something, but I don't know. But yeah, like that was like the early parts of the early days of de-aging. And I just found it interesting that they still haven't perfected the de-aging process. Although the deep fakes.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Yeah, the deep fake people have figured it out.
Right. Although there are people trying to perfect the ending of Mandalorian deep fake. You know, I don't know if can we talk about that now?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay, when they when Luke Skywalker appeared.
Mark Hamill just looks amazing.
Yes.
He's the original Paul Rudd.
Right.
He's the original Paul
Hamill don't crack. But there are people. Then there were people afterwards who like they re-edited that last scene and they put in their spin on the de-aging process, and it's like they're and it's still not perfect. It's still like not like they're trying to out Lucasfilm or whatever ILM, and
you can't perfect perfection.
No, you can't.
I literally got goosebumps.
Did you cry?
Don't judge me.
Did you cry?
Yes, of course I cried.
I cried too. And you know when I cried? when Mando took off his mask.
Oh yeah, you have to.
Yeah, that was Niagara Falls. And I watched that scene. That scene.
My train.
Okay. I watched that scene like a month ago. I just went back. I was flipping through Disney Plus. I'm like, I got to watch the scene again.
I started, and management and I were watching, and it was one of those things where she's like, Jock, as the X-Wing fighter, the one lone X-Wing fighter is approaching it. And she's like, Jock. And I'm like, I at that point lost all ability to breathe. Right.
I'm surprised there was like not CPR.
Claire.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew. Yeah. You knew once the the X-Wing came.
And what I loved best about that scene, it's akin to Rogue One, the first time you see Vader.
Yes, that's right.
And up until this point, the last 35 years, he had this badass reputation, but you never look. The laser fight with Obi-Wan Kenobi left a lot to be desired in 1977. But in Rogue One
fight,
yeah,
what are you, a noob?
No, that's what he. Like,
I know you were being
lasers, but he in that scene at the end of Rogue One, it's like, holy fuck,
he's a monster.
He is and he's a monster who's fucking a badass. Yeah, throwing people around. But then when you see this battalion of these killer robots that truly took, because Moff Gideon had said that to Mandalorian. He's like, you had your handful with one of these fuckers.
Let's see how you do against an army of them.
And now here they come flying back, and there's about 40 of them.
And then, I mean, just the which kill was the best one?
I know the one where he pulls the guy, he just pulls it in, and he's just like, I'm not walking over to you. You're getting your ass
go over here. No, mine is the crush.
Oh,
the crush where he just force crushes him, and he crumples like a cheap Schlitz can. Yeah. It's so that whole scene. That whole fight scene made up for the dubstep music that they used to introduce the Dark Soldiers or whatever the fuck they were called. A little douchey.
It was, but yeah, when Luke comes on, and look, he looked a lot like, it wasn't the best. It was, but I was in tears.
Right. You know what kind of killed it for me took me out of it was Mark Hamill's voice sounded like he was in like a makeshift COVID recording booth. Like the audio didn't match up with the surroundings.
At the time when we recorded it, when he recorded it, we didn't know back then it was safe to go into recording booths and take the mask off. We didn't know. It was early during COVID. It was months before, and
he's asking your permission. Wow, it's like he's really there.
And it's true. I guess we'd have to do a deep dive into it. And Mark Hamill answers questions honestly, very earnestly on Twitter. I wonder if he had a deal like our friend Paul from next week's Sideshow, if he didn't get paid unless he kept his mouth shut until the reveal, because he said it was so hard to not tell people, about that, because he was so thrilled that they asked him and it was so great, but he couldn't talk about it for nearly a year.
Wow. So Luke Skywalker couldn't talk for a long time.
Yeah. Weird, right?
Yeah.
Who could have seen that one coming? Foreshadowing. Okay, so we're wrapping it up.
Trying to make this the longest podcast ever. What else can we talk about?
Joe's going to stick around. We're going to record 4 more podcasts. Stay tuned for
talk about the studio system.
I thought Biff had suggested just jumping right into match games. So let me see if we can get Rodney to also join, and the 4 of us can. I will. Joe and I did talk about this. 25 words or less got picked up for 360 shows next year.
Yeah. And you know who's on that show often?
Who's that?
Greg Grunberg.
Oh, did not know that. No, that's news to me. Yeah, they shoot 6 at a time.
Yeah.
When they shoot that. That's a long day.
Yeah. That's like Wilt Chamberlain numbers.
I don't think they do the liquid
Wilt Chamberlain numbers. Ed, did you know that?
I don't think they do
those 6 a day. I thought that was like what they normally did.
Yeah, they do. Right. Like when I was on Wheel of Fortune, they tape like 6 a day.
Do they really?
Yeah,
okay,
five or 6 normal. A day. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think 5 sounds right? Because they do a week, an entire week's worth in a day.
Yeah, and then they sometimes do like a backup show or something. Right. I mean, yeah, it's weird. It's weird, wild stuff.
But seriously, Joe, I don't want this podcast to end. This talk about Luke Skywalker and now wrapping up the show. Like I'm this close.
It's like we're catching up on like I quit the podcast in November and now it's April. Right. So what are we, like, 5 months into this?
6.
6?
Yeah, 5. But that's,
it's a long time.
But see, the first week seemed like a month,
right?
But then the second week, like, you went to see your mom,
yeah. So that's like a regular week,
right? But then on the third week,
right, it felt like 4 weeks. I got it written down somewhere. I slit the sheet. I slit, and on the slitted sheet, I said, I never could say that in front of anybody before.
I just thought about going through the tube and coming out. Why didn't you?
I didn't want to get spit all over me.
We're just going to spend the next hour quoting the jerk out of
and by quoting we mean performing.
Misquoting.
No, yeah, we're going to be performing the jerk. You're going to be a Bernadette Peters, so put on that dress I like.
There's so many to choose from. Biff, you got anything big coming up this week? Any more bass fishing?
Bass fishing, it's the bass are bedding. So
what's the weather like in California?
It's pretty nice. I think it was probably in the 80s today.
Yeah, we're having a nice stretch of 70 up here. So it's like, we're like 20 degrees above normal. So thank you.
Bring on global warming is what I say.
Thank you, plastic.
And no, it's
I mean, once every 6 months, I think, is a good pace for me to come back to do the podcast.
But it's funny because if we didn't have Paul lined up, we would have done the match game thing. But we already have Paul. Paul in the on deck circle. Can't cancel that. But we do. We have to have you, and it's great because by the time I see you next, we'll both be fully vaccinated. Podcast goes back to being shirt optional. What are you laughing at, Biff? I'm talking to you too. But I'm just gonna do what I used to do and just turn it over to Joe.
Oh no, well, it's another podcast. We've done so many of these. What number is this? According to Apple Podcasts, there's like 2 numbers because if you look, you forget to remove that number at the beginning of the podcast title. So it says it says 197 dot. Episode number 212 or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. So I've lost count as to how many podcasts you have done with Biff and I have done with you and we have done together. As long as I'm in here somewhere, that's all that matters. So Biff, it was good to see you with Jacques in person on the screen. I think I'm just going to keep rambling. You know what? I'm going to make this hard for Jacques to edit. I'm just going to make it really hard for Jacques to edit. Because if I don't stop talking, then, the podcast just doesn't end. It just never ends. Sorry. I'm not ending the podcast. That's it. That's my revenge. I don't know why I'm swearing revenge on this podcast. Like, what did the podcast ever do to me except take 3.5 years away from my life? No,
life.
Right, exactly. Life. I got to talking. No, I got to talk for another 5 minutes. What else could we talk about, man? What else? What else am I watching? He's doing the Archie Bunker, trying to shoot himself in the head. Oh, Lordy. I wish this was a video podcast so you could see how erect Jacques' nipples were. All right. That's enough out of me. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, you building and loan, you crazy emporium, you. Enough. Good night. Over. Good day.
The group who made the background music for WFNX, oh yeah, I think you know it. I miss the American radio. It was much more better than the German. And just listen to this song.